nobody wants others, especially their loved ones, to make a mistake that they've already made before, right? Like if you've already gone down the path of a certain lifestyle, you definitely don't want that for your daughter. And in the situation that if your daughter might share that, hey, I'm about to do this thing that sounds like a mistake to you, right? Because of your experiences, which are so valid, but your experiences, it's very easy for you to immediately jump the gun and say, no, stop, don't do it, right? Like you said, mother handing, protecting.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you doing this? You know, and just very aggressive against that.
Yeah.
And like you said, probably short-tempered at the beginning. There's two approaches, right? Either A, I can do that, I can react in that way. Or B is I can just take a step back and say, hey, is that reaction going to drive them to do that thing more because it's going to make them feel bad about it? Or is it actually a better way that I can communicate to understand why they're doing that? And maybe they're doing that for a whole different reason than what you did, right? Maybe the path looks similar to you, right? But she's walking a totally different path that you just don't understand yet. Welcome to the second episode of the Level Up With Us podcast. Today we have a very special guest today with us, speaking about a really important topic, which is relationships with our children. We have Stephanie here with us. Stephanie is an amazing person. She comes all the way from Philippines, and she's here working with us at our Family Without Borders house in Singapore. And she's here to share a bit about her experience about what, you know, her relationship with her children are like, right? And as you guys know, on this podcast, we like to talk about perspective shifts. Anytime that we've had any difference in how we thought about something previously and how we think about things now, the idea is that we can share these experiences with more people so that you can also see that things aren't perhaps as helpless as they may seem in that moment. There's always a way out of a situation, and there's always more than one way to see things. So without further ado, let's go straight to Stephanie and have you tell the world a bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Stephanie. I'm straight away from Philippines. I'm 38 years old this coming July. And I am a proud mother of 5 children.
Oh my God, 5 children. That's crazy. That's a lot of children. Wow.
And I like the way you said proud mother of 5 children.
Yeah, and how is it like, you know, raising 5 children? Like, I want to know, like, first of all, what does that mean to you to be a mother?
In some family, it is normal. They also have more than 5 children. There are some 27 children.
27? How?
Like even like,
How do they have 27?
like now at this day and age? Or is it
I've known it maybe 5 years ago.
Wow.
27.
Yeah, but they still carry how to manage and to make their children's study and have a better life.
Wow. I think it's really amazing to me because, you know, coming from my background and my experiences, we've always thought about having children as more responsibility, right? More, you know, it's another mouth to feed, obviously, but also another life in this world that you have to raise and take care of and educate, right? Help them live a better life, live their best life, ideally.
One thing that I really like about your relationship with children, having worked with you closely and seeing you every day, I know that you're very close with your firstborn, and the relationship you have with her is like literally she's your best friend and she tells you everything. And I've even told you many times that I think this is very impressive that you have created this space and your daughter like respects you so much that she treats you like a friend. And I think you can perhaps share more about that. Like, how did you reach that bond with her, or was it always like that?
It wasn't always like that. Before, she used to have a second thought of not sharing with me all those, what is happening to her privately.
Yeah.
And being a mom and knowing that she also told it to me that she talks to her auntie, which is her father's first cousin, about what is happening to her and everything. And I told her, you know what? I'm jealous on how the way you are to your auntie. And supposed to be I am the one who is you're sharing with your secrets and everything, because I'll be the last person to catch you and be with you in your ups and downs. So would you let me to know all those things that you wanted to share with me? And then she said, we had a heart-to-heart talk. And then she said, Mom, I'm afraid to tell you those things because I know and I thought that you'll be get angry with me. Maybe, and I respond to her in calm voice. I told her that maybe at first I would get angry, but in the process on understanding, because I've been through it.
Yeah.
I've been through a teenage girl also. So I need to process first. I need to try if the shoe fits on me. And then I told her that you can share me everything and maybe I could help you with the advice, but I don't want you to overview or depend on what I decided or what I advises you. At the end, you'll still be the one who's going to decide, but make better choice. I just told her.
Make better choices than the ones that you
don't be afraid to share to me.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really beautiful. It just reminds me that a mother is always like a mother hen, and including for my own mom as well. Every time I share with her, she's my best friend. I tell her everything, but then her initial reaction is always to like, oh, why do you have, like it's always me. And then after a while, she sends me voice recordings. She goes into the empathizing mode and she's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I understand. So it's always, I think it's a motherly instinct to always go and like be very fierce and protective. And after that, they take a step back and they try to empathize and then they go. I think that's what you explained really beautifully. So,
Yeah, and I think one other aspect of this is that nobody wants others, especially their loved ones, to make a mistake that they've already made before, right? Like if you've already gone down the path of a certain lifestyle, you definitely don't want that for your daughter. And in the situation that if your daughter might share that, hey, I'm about to do this thing that sounds like a mistake to you, right? Because of your experiences, which are so valid, but your experiences, it's very easy for you to immediately jump the gun and say, no, stop, don't do it, right? Like you said, mother henning, protecting. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And just very aggressive against that. And like you said, probably short-tempered at the beginning. There's two approaches, right? Either A, I can do that, I can react in that way. Or B is I can just take a step back and say, hey, is that reaction going to drive them to do that thing more because it's going to make them feel bad about it? Or is it actually a better way that I can communicate to understand why they're doing that? And maybe they're doing that for a whole different reason than what you did, right? Maybe the path looks similar to you, right? But she's walking a totally different path that you just don't understand yet, right? Because you're not her. You are very much her in the sense that you've been a teenage girl before, right? But she also has her own perspectives. And I'm sure she's had many things that are different than you as well, like the way that she's grown up now, the culture now that's happening in Philippines, her friends around her. I'm sure things are quite different. Yeah. So like, how would you say your perspective has evolved over time? Like, how did you used to talk to them and how do you talk to them today?
Before, I am a short-tempered kind of a mother. And when they try to ask something like material things like, Mom, can I have 5 pesos to buy? And there's nothing I can give because you know the story. And it makes me so vulnerable and it makes me hot-tempered because there's nothing I can give.
Yes.
And within my staying here,
at the house,
yes, I feel the growth and experience the way he talked to me. I mirrored it. I get the idea on how to have a better communication within my kids, that I need to be calm. I need to be calm in idea or in a purpose to let them say what they want to say without any boundaries or have a second thoughts or like
judgments.
like, should I tell this? Should I question this to my mom? I want them to be open. So I took your idea on how how to talk, the proper talking, whether it's your children, it's your friend, or your employee.
Wow. I'm so happy that you learned that, and I'm happy that I was able to make a difference there, to share with you perhaps a different way of communication, right? And maybe to kind of also tell the audience like a bit behind that, like what would you say that difference is? Like you mentioned, like it's a difference between short-tempered, but how did you really create, or how did we really create that safe space for you to feel heard and feel accepted?
There's a thinking inside my brain that I need to be more closer. In order to be more closer and catch the what you call it, the heart of my kids, to share those deep thoughts that they had, I need to be calm. I need to speak with them in a proper way, with respect. So they will respect me also, thinking that, oh, my mother is calmly talking to me this way, and maybe it would be better for me to open with her because her mood is good now.
There's no fear.
There's no fear. And that's my goal. I don't want them to feel the fear in me because I'm their best friend in any way.
And you care about them, right? And you want them to know that. And I think that's like something very important, in that, like you mentioned, it's a good tool to practice with anybody you care about, right? It's like, hey, yes, maybe someone has done something to you, or done something, maybe not to you, right? But just something out of your expectation. Everyone's initial reaction is always to, I feel uncomfortable about this, right? I feel like maybe angry, maybe like disappointed, upset, whatever it might be. There's many feelings that can happen. And the most important thing there is like, hey, do I want to react to that feeling, right? Do I just go and snap back and let the other person know how angry I am with them, how disappointed, how upset I am at the situation? Or should I table that for now, right? First, accept that I have those feelings. It's okay, right? Everyone's human. I have those feelings too. But then to be like, okay, well, let's hear them out first, right? It might, when it first comes out, it might be all like, it can sound like excuses. It could be all excuses, right? But the thing is, their perception is their reality. However they chose to perceive it in that moment, right, is how it is real to them in that mind. And it doesn't matter what you think, it matters what they think. And if you really care about them, right, like you said, asking questions gives an opportunity for them to really share what they feel, be vulnerable with that, and naturally, as they share, then they'll start opening up and sharing about how their experience could be better as well, right? And if you're looking for an apology, if you're looking for like a difference in change of behavior from someone else, typically that comes along with that conversation, because now you guys are just talking openly about what you guys want. Yeah. So I think that was very interesting. Like, and do you have anything to add? Because I think you noticed a lot of our conversations early on when Stephanie started first working with us. And I think at the beginning, like, it was different for you too, like different than how maybe in your family you guys would have talked to each other. And maybe you can let me share a bit about that.
Yeah, I totally agree with Steph. Like even for me, like ever since I moved to family without borders, and I know Conrad, I think there's been a shift in the way I communicate, especially when it comes to conflict resolution. And I realized that I'm calmer. And I make the opposite party like feel really calm, and I ask questions. So that's something that I learned from you. And initially, I saw him do that to everybody, like including me and Steph and everybody. And it was a bit difficult for me to understand, because for me it's like, just come to the point, right? But then I realized it makes a huge difference, especially when you work with like important relationships and even work and personal. It's just creating this zen kind of situation where the opposite party feels really calm and safe, and then they open up, and then you see a real change in their mindset rather than them being just defensive. So I think that's something that is very beautiful that I learned from you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we also got you to write something on the board, which is like, what your relationship with your children means to you. Do you mind sharing a bit about that? Like, what did you draw on the board? Can you tell us about that?
It was a house,
Okay.
and there's our 5 children inside it.
Okay.
They were my home.
Okay.
Diamonds represents that they are precious and strong, because diamonds, when you put a hammer on it, it's still diamond.
Right.
I want to build them like a diamond.
Wow. Wow.
And yeah, and the door circle
Yeah.
means my life should be focused on them.
Wow.
I'm just, I want myself to focus, and it was just as round, my world will be all around them, not in some
Right.
other things, other stuffs that is temporary.
I see. I love that. I really love that there's so much deep meaning behind that drawing. I think it's amazing to have, like, I think there's a lot of things to break down here. It's so amazing, right? One is like, okay, you have decided that your children are important to you, right? You want to help nurture them, right? There's 2 motifs here, like a tree, right? You're helping them build up, giving them the nutrients and everything they can to grow. Also trying to make them as, indestructible as possible, right? Like,
Yes.
Life will put you down, but ideally they can move forward and move past it, right? With enough, you need enough resistance to grow, right? And hopefully they can get through it and not have it stop them from moving at all. And then the circle, which is like having your life revolve around them, and that you care about things, about your life, is to help make this family in your home, right? Your kids are your home, to grow and to be nurtured. And I think what was really good is that I think the unlocking part of, how we've been able to learn from each other, right? And I think this is the most beautiful part, is you've been able to recognize that, hey, to achieve that, there's many ways to get there, right? There's the way that you tried in the past, which was, to get impatient, to yell, and to, be less patient than you'd like to be. And we all want to be patient. Our best self is definitely all patience, right? Like no one wakes up one day and says, I want to be short-tempered. I want to, not be patient with my children. No one says that, right? So you have found your way to be patient. And I'm curious, like when you applied the way that, I speak, right? And like you said, and what was your reaction the first time? Like what has happened out of that? How has your kids responded to you when you start talking to them this way?
Let me start this, like when the first time you talk to me, the calm manner, you're trying to catch up the heart in me, that you want me to be accountable and to be calm also to talk. And I was thinking at the back of my mind, Sir Conrad will be a good parent in the future. In the way I am, I'm not like this to my children. And then now, as I applied it, I'm level up. I'm leveling up, being a mother to them, because they are more open with me.
Like you see the changes now.
Yeah, I see the changes, and as in the cup, the way I speak to them through Sir Conrad's inspired by Sir Conrad, that I am controlling what I do today through being a calm kind of mother, will be a better future relationship, a good relationship within my children. That's my point.
Nice. And I love that. And I think like for many people who might be watching this, who may be in your shoes, right? Who are trying to, communicate with their children. And ideally, everyone wants to do it soon because you don't want your children to grow up and not speak to you, right? I think every child eventually comes back to their parents, but ideally you want to make sure that their relationship stays strong. So I'm sure it was difficult at the beginning to make the shift from going to talking in a different way. And I'm sure a lot of it was helped because you've had that personal experience with me, and that's why you're like, okay, I know this works, so I'm going to try it. But how many times did you try? Like, I'm sure the first time wasn't easy. The first time didn't immediately work. Like, tell me about that.
Yes, sir. It wasn't so easy. There's a part of me that I wanted to be angry within the deeds that the wrong deeds that my second child do, because he used to go out and go home late at night, and then what are you why are you doing this, and blah blah blah, and then he stopped. He stopped connecting with me. And then I realized, what did I do as a mother that time? After experiencing how Sir Conrad talked to me, and then I'm still on my level. I need to progress. And then the next time I catch up feelings with him also, and again, and how are you? Can you please just tell me what is your problem? Is there any problem you can share with me? Why are you doing this? If you are doing this, do you feel happy with it? And then I catch up with him, and he said, I'm sorry if I did this. I just did this because there's a family matter happening here. And I just told him in a calm way that it's not a good idea and you must do better. Think before you do some things, because you'll be facing consequences, whether it's good or it is bad. And everybody will be affected on what you do. So better think first of what will be the result, if it will be good for everybody, and you will get in trouble. So, and then he's just said, you know what? I'm only doing this. I'm trying to be calm as a mother now, because I want you to be calm also. I want you to reflect on how I am to you. I want you to progress being a good person. So, would you please do the same thing? Be calm before doing anything else. Don't just jump into a conclusion or do some action that you will regret in the future. And then he just say, okay, ma'am. He just heard my message, and then he said, I understand. I'm sorry if I did it. My promise to you, I will, what do you call that? My promise to you, I will do it. And then I said, don't promise me. Promise it to yourself.
Yes.
Because everything what you are doing is for your future, and everything is for your own good also. So you control what you do today.
I love that.
I love it that you always bring up like level up, you control what you...
Yes.
No, it's
yes.
great.
I'm applying it to them. So.
Yes.
I'm happy about that.
Amazing.
I have a funny story about that actually, where I was on a trip with my dad, and then my dad, it was a family trip. Like, we had a bunch of relatives around, and I wear my shirts all the time, right? Where you control what you do today. You know, you can find it at CoX3's website. Merch. But it was so funny because I was just hanging out, right? And then we were lining up for something, and then like he was talking to me, but part talking to his relatives as well. He's like, you know what? Every day I wake up and then things can go bad, things can go good. But then I look at Conrad's shirt and then I think, yeah, I do control what I do today. And I was like, that's so funny.
So true.
But speaking of shirts, right? Like, this episode is actually sponsored by CoX3 Family Foundation. And one of the things that we want to do is that we want to create intentional wear for you, so that when you have a difficult day, or just every day is not good or bad, like there's going to be up days, down days, whatever it might be, we want to help you remember important lessons and important, meaningful words that just mean so much to us, right? That we know will help make our lives better. We know that we control what we do today, but do we apply that every single day? We might not. We know that we have people around us that care for us, that want to be there to support us and grow with us. But do we always remember that? No. So I thought, what better than, instead of wearing a shirt with like someone's brand on it, like, you know, decals and stuff like that mean nothing, why don't I have something intentional that I can wear that will remind me every time I look in the mirror, every time I look at my friends, every time I look at anyone in my life, I can be reminded that this is what leveling up can mean to me.
And it's like in your subconscious. I think another idea for our shirt will be your perception is your reality. I think I mentioned this in the previous podcast as well. It's very true. Everyone's perception is their own perceived reality. So, idea for you.
Yeah, no, it's great. And again, this is the idea. Like, anyone in our community can come up with something that they think is really intentional, right? Really has changed their life, right? And then we can make that into a apparel wear that we can all benefit from. And maybe for you, like something about listening, right? Ask questions. Whatever has changed your life, be curious, right?
Yeah,
Actually, be curious is something that I really want to do,
I love
right?
it. I think be curious is like your motto in life. Like seriously, he's curious 24/7 during lunch, during dinner.
If you want to get any of our intentional gear, go check out our website, co-x3.com/merch or x3.family/merch. I think that you can find it there. So back to the podcast. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask like a lighthearted question.
Please.
So Conrad.
Hi.
That's
me.
Yes. I want to know, since we're talking about relationship with our children, and we all know how much you value relationships and how you handle it so delicately, which inspires me so much. Like it's actually just changed me subconsciously. Like I realized,
I'm glad.
Without even me realizing, like my nervous system is very calm in this house. I can say, and I think that's hugely because of the culture and hugely because of what you intend to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my question is, how many kids do you want in the future?
Oh, that's a funny question. I have changed on this question so many times, and when I was growing up, I actually didn't want children. I thought that my childhood upbringing wasn't necessarily the least traumatic one out there that could have happened. And so I always thought that the world doesn't need another kid, that, every parent's trying to do their own thing. Every parent is learning. There's no perfect parents, right? And so I never really thought that I would get to that stage where I thought, hey, I could raise up a child and they would be perfect, right? And no problems. And I wouldn't give them unnecessary baggage that they have to resolve later on in therapy. So that was my thought process for a long time. I actually thought I wouldn't get married. I thought I wouldn't have children. And I thought that all the way until I was like, at least like 25, right? 24, 25. And I was like, okay, you know what? At that stage, I realized that, hey, having that perspective was actually very narrow-minded, and it wasn't very growth-minded at all, right? Because obviously I can improve. I can put myself to a position where I can not necessarily only be there to help, myself, but can help others as well, right? And as I got more confidence with that, as you see, right, I have picked up some skills, thankfully, right, to establish good communication and build better relationships. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I have learned a lot about interacting with people as a whole, not just for parenthood and raising a child. And then so around then was when I started first playing with the idea like, oh, okay, if my partner, whoever she might be, if they want to have a child, then I'll open to that. But I never said like I won't need one, right? It's never still a compulsive like need that I must have a kid. I think many of my friends actually have that need, and I think that's great. Their evolutionary biology is doing fantastic for them. But my trauma still is like very much baked in. I was like, you know what? If you don't need one, you don't need to add an extra life to this world, and I don't think I can add that much value to an extra life. Maybe I don't need to, right? But that's all kind of changed with my current partner, where I think, initially we had a talk and she's always been like, oh, I want children. And I was like, how many? She's at 3. I'm like, okay, 3 sounds doable. Let's think about it, right? And my perspective was always still like, okay, yes, I feel equipped to have a child. I think I'm able to talk to them in a way that I would, be proud of. Like I'm satisfied that it will be my best self. Because like, again, before I would, it was very funny, like actually backtracking a bit, like when I first had the idea that, hey, maybe I would have children if my partner would have children, I actually got a dog to see like what having a child would be like. Because a dog is like really a version of a toddler, right? It doesn't know what you're trying to say, right? It's going to react to basic triggers you give it, right? If you give it like, some food, it'll do some trick for you. You have to be responsible for your dog. You have to take them out for a walk. You have to pick up their poop. There's a lot of things that go on in kind of raising a dog that I thought mirrored raising a child. So I was like, okay, I need to make sure I can take care of my dog Haku, right, as best as I can, make sure that he grows up healthy, strong, happy. I can do whatever I can for him. And once I can do that, then I can feel more confident that I can raise a child, which is going to be infinitely more difficult, right? It's not even the same playing field, but at least it's a step beyond just taking care of just myself. And obviously a step beyond taking care of just cats. I used to have cats and they take care of themselves, right? But anyway, so then coming into this relationship, right? So what happened was, okay, I now know that I can take care of a child because I've been reasonably good taking care of my dog, right? And I think he's living quite well. And then so I was like, okay, so now the question is how many? And how many, I think, is all about whether or not you have enough resources. I think it's irresponsible for me, at least, I can't make that judgment for anyone else, but for me is that I don't want to have a child until I'm sure that I can take care of them financially, right? In a way that, not to say I'm going to spoil them, but I want to make sure that whatever I'm contributing to their livelihood won't detract from our overall quality of life, so that there's never that situation where the child feels like they have taken away things from me. Because I think there's a lot of parents that may go to their child and say, hey, if I didn't have you, I would have had XYZ, I would have a sports car, if I had that house, I would have been on the Bahamas, right, on vacation. Like there's a lot of things I've heard parents say, or even if it's not said, like, the intention has been conveyed to their children and their children feel bad about that. Maybe I shouldn't have been born. And so I just want to make sure that my kids never feel that way, and that I don't want them to be spoiled and feel like they have everything they want in the world and just nothing's for free, obviously. But I also want them to know that, their life doesn't come at the expense of something that I'm giving up. Their life adds to my life. And in the same vein, I want to make sure everyone feels that way around me. I don't want anyone to feel like their presence with me is taking away from my experience of the world. Being here with you, it's making my life infinitely better. And I want to appreciate you guys for that, right? That's how I think about it for real. And so I think that's a very long-winded answer to your question, but it moved from 3 kids to, I think we said 6 kids, because my partner said she wanted a soccer team as a joke, I think, but now it's become a more like robust running joke. And then apparently there's 8 people in the soccer team. And actually, though, apparently there's 8, but I thought we were included, me and her were included, and maybe like 2 more people. So I think 12 people's in the soccer team. And now actually we won the whole soccer team just to be the kids. So we have 12 apparently is now the number. I don't know. Like this is all like obviously like, just a optimistic plan of the future. Of course, I'll let you guys know if I ever get to that point where we're actually raising 12 children. But I'm just really happy about my own growth in that, where really I thought that children would never be in my life, versus now I'm open to the idea of 12. So a very, very big jump, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's beautiful like how you made the shift, like the transition, and it's based on your own growth and confidence, right? It's like, okay, I feel like now I'm ready.
Well, you're never going to be perfectly ready. I want to say that.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to...
Yeah, which is like my next point. Like, I mean, this is something that you said, but of course, there's 2 quotes that I always remember when it comes to parenting. That one was said by my therapist last time. She said that the most difficult job in the world is being a parent. She literally said that. She said she has no kids, and she said the most difficult job anyone can do is being a parent.
Certainly.
And the second one that I really like is you can never be a perfect parent. Never. Like you can try, but you can never be a perfect parent. And I think that's what really makes it very beautiful. Like to me, at least, I would be a mom, and hopefully my partner as well. I would want to have a family where it's like we try our best, but we're also prone to making mistakes, and we are learning with them, right? But of course, like you said, we need to be financially ready and emotionally stable and a lot of things, right? And we have to have a safe environment at home. But other than that, there's only so much you can do to control life. Like, so like anything can happen, right? Like I faced trauma when I was young. You did. Everybody did. So I'm sure that if my future children have to, we have to, right? So there's no
if
like
they have to.
like there's, I mean, of course, we can go in with the mindset that they're going to have a perfect childhood, which everybody want to, but I've just accepted it that there's no perfect parenting. It's more of the intention. Like my intention is to raise kids, and I do believe that I can impart some, good knowledge and everything. But then at the end of the day, it's really up to the journey.
How many for you?
2.
2?
Yeah.
That's enough?
Yeah. It has always been 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
That won't change?
No.
Not 12?
It'll be 2 boys.
Okay. You can't control that. Don't control the sex.
I will. No, I don't know why.
Gender
My gut feeling says it's going to be 2 boys.
All right. We'll chat back.
See.
We'll chat
yeah,
back.
we'll chat back.
Yeah. No, I want to add something to that because I think like for me, I made my decision on having children actually like now solidified, right? Again, before I was like, okay, I'm going to test this out. I'm going to have a dog. Let's see. But now why I'm so certain that having a child is good for me, right, is that I have figured out my own philosophy on life, right, which I'm now sharing with the world through the Better Life framework, is that I understand that these are the different phases and different perspectives of life that we're going to be experiencing, right? We're always going to go through this very predictable stage of like, oh, you're in survival mode. You're just going to try to get by. You're going to be dependent on someone, right? And you're going to need to, have your parents feed you. Then you're going to try to make your own way in the world. You're going to want things, and you're going to try to get those things that you want. And then you're going to try to find places that you belong, right? You're going to try to find friends and people that are like you. Then you're going to try to make systems that are going to help you live the life that you want. And then you're going to, at some point, realize that everything's not as chalked up as it be, and then you're going to give up on everything. And then you're going to go and you're going to say, hey, but I'm going to give up on everything, but I'm still going to set boundaries. And then you're going to set boundaries, and then you're going to realize that, hey, actually, people are going to break my boundaries, so I'd rather be curious. And then you go to the ninth stage, and then the ninth perspective, and then you just have true empathy for the world. And that's a very quick retelling of that, but essentially knowing that that's the perspectives that my kids will grow through, because that's what I went through and that's what my friends are going through and that's what everyone in the world is going through, has given me so much more love for everyone's experiences. Like, I think it's so easy, like you just mentioned earlier with your children as well, is that when they do something out of your expectation, when they do something that you don't think is right, because as a parent, obviously you think you know best, right? And of course you might, right? You might know a lot of things, but the thing is, in that moment, their reality is only as good as their perception of it. And their perception is much more limited than what you have and probably more diverse in the different places that you don't even know, right? So because it's different, right? I think it's much better to be able to recognize that and love that everyone has their own journey to go on. And I think that is the crux of what we're talking about here today. It's like, how do we appreciate that journey? How do we create a safe space for them to continue that journey? And how do we make sure that we are there to lend a guiding hand along the way? And I think the best way to do that is just with love and care and questions. Be curious.
And do check out the Better Life framework.
Yeah, check it out.
I think it's everything you need to know. It's the Bible of life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. High praise. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm saying it after months of
work with it.
Yeah, work with it. So yeah, it means it's real. It's really good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. Is there anything that you'd like to tell anyone else that would be in your shoes as a parent, right? Anything that you'd like to share with them that hopefully help someone that was in your shoes just not long ago?
As a parent, and for the future parents would be, I think within my experience, being a mother, being transparent to your children would help you to make them understand further on how life should be and be ready on circumstances that will be happening in the next future, because we cannot control everything, right?
Yeah.
So they must know how to handle everything. And for some reasons, as I told you before, to avoid confrontation, and it would be so hard for you to explain those things to your children. So it would be easy for you to be transparent with them, so they can easily understand everything step by step. I don't need to question my mother about this, about what happened right now, because she didn't blind me about what is happening in my surroundings.
Yeah. And I think to add to that, one more important thing is that it's not that they don't challenge you anymore on it. Actually, what you're doing is you're opening up the door to better questions that they can ask, because now they know the situation. And when they don't know the situation, the questions they ask can end up sounding very aggressive to you, because you're like, I'm trying to protect this information and I'm already dealing with so much. Why are you asking me these things? I don't want to answer it, right? It can be very frustrating, and I totally can appreciate and understand that. But the moment you let it out and you let them in on what's going on in the family, again, kids will know more than you think. Like they're very intelligent, especially kids of today. Like there's so much that they know. But even if they don't know, because you've opened up the gate for them to ask questions, now they're learning how to ask questions that are more, important, right, to the situation at hand. And guess what? They could be helping, right? They could be part of the solution.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've been like being an educator, I think kids are super smart these days, like super curious, and they're so wise. I don't even think we underestimate kids a lot.
Yeah.
Most of the time they just read the situation, and including my own nieces and the students I teach, they're just so emotionally mature for their age. I think it's amazing. Something to do with the formula they drink.
Yeah. Well, at least
Formula milk.
the way that the information is being given to them
I
and
guess.
access to internet and all those things is
Definitely
really helpful.
compared to when we were kids. I
Yeah.
think the kids nowadays are super, like we don't really need to worry about them perceiving something differently. Yeah.
I mean, it's different skill sets. Like actually, I've had this conversation with my mom before where, when, AI tools first started coming out, she was so scared. She was like talking to me like, what's going to happen now to the education system, right? You can just ChatGPT everything, because she read that, ChatGPT is everywhere in schools. So basically what I told her was that, what my mom, right, mom, what you learned in school, right, back then was how to go to the library and pick up a reference book and find information in a book. What I learned in school was how to go to Google, right, and how to search a search term and find keywords and cite my sources and get information and make a report. What kids today are learning is how to craft a good question to go to ChatGPT to get the answers that you want.
At the end of the day, it's all about questions.
Yes. So
Yes.
we're just getting closer and closer and closer to that. And I think to close it off, I agree with you completely. You can't control everything, but you can control what you do today.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank
See you next
you.
week.